Hey there, Catrice Jackson here. I am glad that you stopped by the website today to check out my new book, White Spaces, Missing Faces, Why Women of Color Don't Trust White Women. So I've been asking this question on social media. Has there ever been a time in history when white women have put their lives on the line collectively for women of color? Has there ever been a time when women of color have been able to fully 100% trust white women as a whole, as a group, collectively, to speak up for them, to stand up for them, to come to the rescue, to support them and rally behind them as they face the issues that they face in their life? Has there ever been a notable, memorable time in history when white women have put their lives, their money, their resources, their blood, their sweat, their tears on the line collectively as a group nationwide for women of color? Can you think of a time? Can you think of a time when white women made history? When they came together in droves and large groups, and it made the news, and it was headline after headline, and it's written in the history books that white women came to the rescue of women of color, stood by them, spoke up for them, advocated for them, rallied and marched for them. Has there ever been a time in history for that? Have you seen that? I've been looking for it. And I have yet to discover a time in American history when white women have collectively, in large, vast numbers, come together to rally behind and support and stand up for the oppression, the very specific oppression that women of color face. There's never been a time in history. And so I think that it's fair and that it's rightfully so and that it's justified and very legitimate to say there have been centuries of reasons why women of color, specifically Native American women and African American women, do not trust white women. Centuries of reasons why. But in my new book, what I have outlined is 8 very critical, specific reasons why women of color don't trust white women. And you may be saying, Catrice, oh no, not all white women. And I'm saying, yes, all white women. Now, you may have gained some trust of a few women of color here and there, and you may have some relationships with a few women of color here or there, but collectively speaking, women of color do not trust white women. And there are tons of reasons why. But there are 8 very specific reasons why. And if you are a white feminist, if you are a white female leader, if you are a social and racial justice advocate and activist, if you lead a group online, if you are the leader of a company or an organization, if you gather and mobilize and bring women together in a space or a place in any kind of way, you need to know these 8 reasons why women of color do not trust white women. Because you may be wondering why women of color are not showing up in your space and in your place. You may be wondering why women of color don't raise their hand and participate, why they don't engage, why they don't reach out and connect and really thrive and prosper in your space, in your predominantly white space. You might be wondering that. You might be wondering what happened to so-and-so. She was just here yesterday and she's gone. She slipped out the back door. She left your space, your place, your organization, your group, your club. And you didn't even know it until you noticed that she was gone. Maybe you're wondering why, when you do bring women of color into your space, your place, your organization, that they eventually enter the revolving door. They leave. Sometimes they leave with, excitement and frustration, and they tell you why they left and they walk out. And sometimes they slip out the back door. because it's not worth the energy to tell you the real reason why they left your company, your space, your place, your predominantly white space that you claim is for all women, the space that you claim is a safe place for women of color, the place that you work so hard to make sure that it's intersectional and supportive and safe for all women. But we don't stay. We leave. We sneak out the back door. We enter into the revolving door. We don't stay in those predominantly white spaces, even those predominantly white female spaces. And there's a reason why. Because women of color do not trust white women. So if you've been wondering all this and you think that you have a diversity problem, an inclusion problem, no, you don't have a diversity and inclusion problem. You have a racism problem. And it's time for us to stop telling that lie. It's time to stop talking about diversity and inclusion, and companies really need to implement that. We've been doing that for years and it still doesn't work. Women of color are still coming and going at rapid rates. So if you really want to bring women of color into your space and create a safe space, if you want to create a space where they do thrive and participate and prosper, and they're excited to be in your space and they stay there, then you need to figure out how to deal with your issue of racism. It's not diversity. It's not inclusion. It's a racism problem. And 95% of the time, it's not your blatant, in-your-face, overt racism that women of color are experiencing. It's the insidious, nuanced, unintentional microaggressions committed by good, well-intended white women who sometimes don't know that they're doing it, and other times that they do. It's a racism problem. That's why they're not coming. That's why they're not staying, and that's why they're not going to stay. So if you're serious about cultivating a space where all women thrive, where all women can be free to be who they are, without judgment, without pain, without oppression, if you really want to cultivate a space where women of color stay and they raise their hand and they participate and they engage and they thrive in your space, deal with your racism, because that is the problem. And I can help you do that. That's exactly why I wrote White Spaces, Missing Faces. And I outline 8 critical reasons why women of color do not trust white women. And I provide real, raw, in-your-face commentary on what you can do to fix that problem, on what you can do to detoxify your space, to decontaminate your space, and create an anti-racist space where women of color will come, and they will thrive, and they will stay. So if that means something to you, if that's important to you, then you need to get a copy of White Spaces, Missing Faces, so that you can understand these 8 reasons and start creating and cultivating an anti-racist space and place where women of color do come, they do stay, and they do thrive. I hope you will get your copy today.